I'm going to show you how to add paper mache to your mask today. You'll need to have a messy mat, your tub of paper mache, and all of your paper towels. The first thing you want to do is rip up some paper towels. You want these to be like longer strips, about the width of your hand. You do not want them to be teeny tiny pieces because this will just take forever for you to cover up your whole mask like that. The way you get your paper mache on is you dip it both sides in the mix and then you kind of squeegee it out with your hand. You do not want it dripping all over the place. If it's dripping, it has too much paper mache mix on it. You just want it to be nicely coated, all wet on both sides. Next, you're going to take that piece of paper mache, and it's okay if it got a little bit crinkly. You can kind of flatten it out, and you want to make it as flat as possible on your mask. Now, if it rips, it's okay. Just put it down in two pieces. It's not a big deal. And you're going to use your hand to kind of smooth it. You want it to be as tight as possible on your mask. When you get to the edges, you want to smooth it along to the back and make sure that those edges get nice and smoothed in. You do not need to paper mache the back of your mask, but the whole front and the edges need to be all paper mache. You can see I'm like really squeegeeing out that paper mache mix and flattening it on really, really well onto my mask, making it nice and tight on the edges and along all of my 3D bump outs that I made on my armature. Going along those places and kind of like pressing into the corners, into the edges, making sure that it's nice and tight so it'll stay on and not like fold up as it dries. So just taking your time with that and really smoothing it in. It's okay if there's a few wrinkles, that happens. But really trying to smooth it in nice and tight on your mask. You're going to watch me do one layer of paper mache. You'll end up needing to have 3 to make sure that your mask is nice and strong. The other way you can put your paper mache on, and you just saw me do that with my hand, was getting a little bit of mix on my fingers and using them almost like a paintbrush to get the piece of paper towel wet. So again, just getting that nice strong layer of paper mache on, and you're going to want to do 3 layers like this, nice and tight all over your mask so that it gets really, really strong. Sometimes you'll use a little bit smaller pieces to get into different areas, and you can just decide how big those need to be. But you want to make sure that both sides of your paper mache paper towel are wet. Now, as you go into these little like 3D armature pieces that you've made, you'll just want to cover them up and try to get into all the like crevices and cracks nice and tight. So there really isn't like a science to it. It's just kind of doing it as you go, trying to find any areas that have holes, going over those again, really smoothing it in nice and tight along the mask. It helps if there's like a portion of the paper mache that is attached to the mask and then up onto the bump out piece, using your fingernail to kind of get into those cracks. Really making sure that it's like nice and sealed up. You can always take a little bit of paper mache mix directly from the tub too, if it feels like it's not wet enough, and you can put it on directly onto the mask. Now, if you want to add 3D parts onto your paper mache, you can just get those pieces of paper towel wet and kind of ball them up, wad them up, and put them on. And this would give like that heart that I did there that was flat. This is going to give it more of like form, right? We were talking about form means something that has like 3D appearance. So this is giving it more depth and form and making it look more 3D instead of just a flat heart. Once I did that and those were all bunched up on there, now I need to put some flat ones over the top to hold them in. Otherwise they'll all kind of fall out. So I'm adding those flat pieces over the top and just kind of pinching it, tightening it on, really smoothing it out, trying to kind of squeeze it into the shape that I want. I'm going to show you how to make some lines too and those twists. So you just take a wet piece of paper towel and twist it up like a rope, And you could do this to make like emphasize lines, to make new lines. Just doing one isn't very tall, so I usually like layer a couple of them so that they can show up a little bit better. And then again, once I've made those, I need to put a flat piece of paper towel over the top that's all wet to make sure that they stay on. That's kind of like sealing them onto the mask. Now they won't fall off. I'm just smoothing that in really well, trying to get in there and to all the crevices and cracks to make sure that you can really see it stuck on there.